Welcome back to Bazaar Morning Call. Well, let's analyze a few stocks that we just discussed with you. We have Deven Choksey, MD of DRChoksey Finserv, who joins us on the show. Hi, Deven. Good morning and good to see you. Deven, I want to ask you about Hindalco. You know, a bit of a shocker that came in when they went ahead and increased their capex at Novelis. But now the news on the IPO of Novelis will be read positively, at least for today and for the next couple of days. The question mark remains on what they want to use for these funds. It'll also attract a holding company discount at some point of time and could lead to double taxation. But how would you approach the stock at around this 510 rupees? Because post that correction, the markets have run along, but Hindalco hasn't moved. Your take.
Yeah, Nigel, good morning. Well, my understanding says that on one side, they have the Novelis is basically wanting to expand further into the flat product segment. And maybe I think due to the change in the situation with the automobile industry significantly, I think that's where probably I think one of the count would be that I think the flat products would be seeing higher demand going forward. So, however, in this particular case, the money is being raised by Hindalco because I think if this company is getting listed, money is not coming in the books of Novelis per se. The money is likely to come in the books of Hindalco at this point of time. And if one looks at, I think, the equations for Hindalco out here, probably the same situation happens in the domestic market for Hindalco, wherein the larger amount of contribution happens largely because of the new demand scenario which is emerging for them due to the significant amount of thrust given to the renewable segment and I think the applications and the use cases thereafter. In my understanding, I think Hindalco gets significant amount of contribution from Novelis. At this point of time, maybe more than 50% is a contribution coming into the books of Hindalco from Novelis. And at the same time, I think the company is basically, I think, growing and wanting to grow in the domestic market. Hindalco in per se, I think that is where probably the fund that is so realized by selling Novelis shares and getting it listed out there in US could possibly help. The issue about the taxation and other things, I think one will have to look at it a little bit more in detail once I think the final details are available.
All right, got that. Well, let's see how the stock reacts today. But HDFC Bank has really now, started to fire up. I mean, it's been a couple of days. Yesterday, there was huge delivery buying, almost 2,700 crores of buying in HDFC Bank. Is this a good risk-reward, is the risk-reward favorable for investors now?
Yes, Sonia. Certainly, I believe that in HDFC Bank, two things are happening very systematically for this bank. On one side, they are very prudent in expanding the loan book. They are basically having a balanced portfolio with the corporate loan book, SME, MSME loan book, the retail loan book, and also the housing finance loan book, with a small portion of prime sector lending as well. So all in all put together, I think their balance sheet is quite balanced as I see it, I think, from the loan book perspective. On the other side, the management of the liability is equally, I think, important. And this is a time, I think, where this company is going systematically in expanding the cost of the liability side of the balance sheet. I believe that I think they are very prudent in managing the balance sheet risk as far as I think the business outlook goes. I think it remains absolutely very, very strong. In my viewpoint, I think the 1 lakh which is there in this particular company, and that is something which needs to overcome, is adoption of the digital interfaces, the fintech part. Should they succeed in a quicker time, probably I think this bank could expand faster than what it has done in recent past in last 3-5 years. So one remains optimistic about given the possibility about the growth in the AUM, given the possibility about the larger banks contributing larger towards the lending business in the country because of the expansion happening in every sphere. So I would think that I think HDFC Bank would remain relatively a stronger case for buying in the portfolio. And given the price correction, it is all the more attractive to add into the portfolio.
I mean, I know that's the pack which actually participated in how. By the way, Sonia yesterday put out data from Vahan, right? Which essentially, this is data till the 19th of February, which showed that two-wheeler registrations actually are in the low single digits in the month of February till the 19th. Electric vehicle sales, etc., are also kind of flat. Hero ended about 4% lower, and I think the top 3 losers on the Nifty were all auto stocks. Any thoughts, Deven, briefly on this pack?
Well, nothing in particular. Maybe I think some amount of slowdown in sales in the particular month or so, I think is the root cause of concern. But I don't think that I think that should be the major concern. On one side, the economy is actually expanding and expanding very well. The disposable income in the hands of the rural masses, particularly, I think, is systematically growing. And as we understand, I think the amount of growth I think which the masses are seeing in their on a per capita basis, I would like to believe that automobiles, particularly two-wheelers, will have relatively stronger play going forward. So maybe 1 or 2 months here there I think shouldn't matter. The companies are relatively strong on their footings. On one side, companies like Hero, Bajaj, TVS, they have got relatively strong portfolio of products, which they continue to deploy with a higher amount of margin also in the business. So in my viewpoint, I think the 1 or 2 months, and I think the March stock price coming down shouldn't affect much as far as investment outlook is concerned.
Okay, all right. Well, TVS has had a dream run, right? Just look at that one plate. The market share in the TVS iQube was 2% in FY18 and it's gone up all the way to 18.7% in Jan of 2024. That's been the spectacular rise there. And for the first 3-4 years, it was stuck at 2 and 4 and 5%. It's just in the last 2 years that this big rise has come because of the iQube. But more on that later. Deven, thanks a lot for joining in. Appreciate your thoughts here.